that
No.
I've got to modify how much I cook.
You know, if they're about to starve, they'll eat.
They call it fend for themselves night, that's what they call it, and they'll figure out whatever they wish to. There's plenty there.
All right, we are live.
Right.
Okay, well, welcome to the March 2nd County Commissioner meeting. Let's all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any public comment this morning? Seeing none, we'll move to commission comments. Commissioner McKinley.
Right, well, Monday, excuse me. Monday after our meeting, I attended the intergovernmental meeting. And the program was a review of the school finance with 383, they're going through their stuff. Tuesday morning, Clancy, Barry and I had a meeting with the judges about the indigent attorneys. And we're going to discuss that later, more detail on that. And after that meeting, Clancy and I met with Barry to review a few more things. And then later I met with Clancy, just not in that in particular, just to review items that will be coming up later this year and catching up in general. Tuesday went to that Kansas Broadband Roadshow meeting. We're having a series of those across the state, reviewing the needs of people. There's interesting conversations about the problems faced in this area. And one person commented afterwards that we talk about rural problems here. We're not rural. You know, go west of Salina, and then they were talking about when there's 2,500 people in a county, how do you get broadband? You know, they're talking about needing more satellite. After that, then I also went to the Riley City Commission meeting. Director Pete had been there earlier, and he said there was a good crowd to meet with him. You know, they enjoyed being able to meet him and everything. And then I updated him on the Leonardville ambulance station and our quarterly meetings in the small cities. And then last night I attended the basketball game. It was a great send off for the seniors for their final game here, and it was a celebration after the game too. They had a lot of special things going on after the game. It was fun. And that's
Okay, Commissioner Ford.
Yeah, somehow along the way here, I just deleted everything I wrote down. So hopefully Cindy.
Do anything this.
Yeah, I wish that was kind of the case, but no.
That was actually me, John.
I just like it was there and now it's like not there. And so, yeah, I don't know. So we'll just ad lib this thing, I guess. So, sorry, I missed the intergovernmental meeting on Monday, but with everything that was going on, I had to get a couple of errands ran, and then I went to the doctor in Topeka Monday afternoon. It was kind of a rush. And as irony would play out, their major concern is blood pressure. So yeah, so some good, some bad. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That seems to be the ploy more often than not. So see, Tuesday had a monthly meeting with Pawnee Mental Health, usual board of directors meeting. Got financial updates. Robin gave her usual executive director's report, just kind of talking about things that are going on in the state, things they're doing. Basically, kind of a summary of what she gave us on Monday. Was it Monday? Yeah, or last Thursday, whenever it was. And had a couple of new members joining, one from Cloud County and the other one's in that large position. Let's see, we discussed a little bit about pancakes for Pawnee, the annual meeting that's going to be happening in April, but it's right during our commissioners. Yeah, it happens every year. Let's see what else. Staff gave a couple of updates. We got an update on financials. Actually did the financial meeting first, and I'm on the financial committee. And had an executive session about trade secrets and data. Obviously, I can't go into that, but that was basically it. So what else here? I don't remember. Yesterday, I met with city clerk, the mayor, and the planning and zoning director from Ogden. We sat down and chatted for about an hour or so on a handful of different fronts, including conversations I had with members of Congress about the project that's needed to be done over there on Riley Avenue. We discussed maybe petitioning KDOT as well, try to get back on the state grid on that for future maintenance, because that's not just a average municipal road. I think that's something that's probably doable. Gonna take some community partners and probably Fort Riley to help in that, but I think that would be beneficial for them. They're gonna go after the second round of base grants to try to get the engineering construction costs into place, and then try to put an application in later in the year for the DSIP, which I think is really still probably their best option, probably moving forward to make those renovations. I stuck around for the meeting as well. They meet on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and kind of gave them an update on a couple other things, including the local agreement that we're finishing up for sales tax, and just a couple other loose items and stuff there. So, and anybody catch Jupiter and Venus in the sky last night? That was kind of.
Is
Is that what that was?
That's what that was.
I saw this.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the heck that was.
I was over there and I thought, man, when did planes, I thought it was a huge drone for a second. And I thought, when did planes become stationary while trying to come in on the runway?
Am I seeing a UFO or what?
Yeah,
I kept waiting for it to move, and.
It never moved. And I thought, well, maybe Fort Riley is doing something, because I was over there and then I came home and it was still there. And I'm like, what in the world? And then thankfully Jeremy Goodwin from WIBW put something up and explained it. And I was like, oh.
Right, that looked like the station over Greg's house.
Maybe it's on Fort Riley.
Yeah. I thought it was like one of those Google drones or something, like redoing their, their flights or something.
I mentioned that. Yeah, I was driving home.
So I was puzzled too, and I pulled into my driveway and looked up and it was still there in the same spot. I'm like, what in the world?
I've never seen.
I guess the moral of the story this morning is planets don't move. So we'll go on with that. And the other thing I noticed this morning was the robins were out chirping. That's
Last
just a
night.
pretty good sign of spring.
Last night as well.
So
Cardinals.
you may not feel like it today, but it's on its way. I assure you, everybody.
The
So,
geese been coming back.
I saw that too. Yeah.
That's what I-
saw them out in the field over there off of
Okay, you look
K-18 over there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them over in Annenberg flying around.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know.
Last week here.
Okay. Let's see, Lindy, I too attended the intergovernmental luncheon, got there a little late because I had some things to do in the office first. The presentation on school finance 101 was made by Lou Faust, Director of Business Services. They went through all the state and local funding basics, student weighting, and base formula for calculating residential and commercial property tax amounts. So it was pretty basic to taxes. I don't know. It was, but next meeting will be on March 27th. And then that afternoon, I attended the County Solid Waste Management Committee. The agenda items included minutes from January, updates from Public Works and current committee members. Several members have resigned, and so Amanda is working on that. Amanda also went over the procedure for the 2024 5-year plan to begin working on, the committee to begin working on this year. A lot of good discussion ensued around what changes and updates need to be made going forward. The current chairman, Steve Gallitzer, announced that he will be resigning. And the committee asked him to please stay on until we get the plan worked out, but he said he would stay on, but he wanted new chairman to get in place, but within the next month. So, but he said he would stay on for about a year to help in the chair, so. Tuesday evening, I too attended the Kansas Broadband Roadshow sponsored by the Kansas Department of Commerce. Each table was a focus group, which I thought was an interesting format, and then the attendees answered like 6 questions. And then went around and had each table report what they had come up with on different questions. So there will be federal funding available to Kansas, but I think they'll need a lot more information from communities. The biggest issue we have is in the rural area. And a lot of people were very vocal about that.
Yeah.
Wednesday was an Army Day. I attended a military relations luncheon at the Holiday Inn campus. Guest speaker was Gary Westerman, who's regional operations manager of Kansas Works. His presentation was on Kansas Works program to assist veterans transitioning from service to jobs in the private sector. And they help them with all sorts of soldiers, they help them with all sorts of transition stages and procedures. And let's say later that afternoon, I attended the Westwood Business Association in the Midwest Car Museum. That was cool. Special guests were the football coach from Manhattan High and 5 players that are graduating seniors this year and going on, but they had a really cool video on when they won the championship. And it was really, and all the players that were there got to speak a little bit and talk about their most memorable moment. Coach spoke for a little while. Apparently there are 2 of those players that are coming to K-State, and a couple go to Washburn and one to a community college.
His sons.
So hopefully, yeah.
That's where he went.
So let's see. Then second presentation was by Master Sergeant Bradley Spade from the Fort Riley Transition Assistance Program. They work with soldiers that will be leaving the service within like 8 months before they leave the service to private industry. They work with them on job skills that translate to Kansas jobs. Some of the soldiers don't know that their work in the service relates specifically to jobs, so they help them with that. There will be well, they're placing interns in businesses, and I think we have one. I think we've had one.
My son-in-law went through that,
Yeah.
not here in Leavenworth.
So it sounds like they're doing a lot. So there are 2 entities at least that are doing that. There is an upcoming career for them, March 21st through the 23rd. And he offered to help the business owners that were there or in the Westwood Business Association. Help them find some good employees, and give out his contact number to the group. So if we are looking for any employees, good employees, we might take a look at that. I'll pass that on to Elizabeth. I'm sure she's got that. Anyway, that's about it for me. So,
Business commissioner?
oh,
And I forgot to jump in before you started commission comments. I'd like to ask the board to add one quick item at the end of the meeting. It's not an executive session. We need to have a discussion by the board of Senate Bill 248 and 252. We've got a request for information from KEC, as all member counties received, and we want to show you what we've got before we send it on. We're also going to send it to the delegation, our legislative delegation.
Oh, good. Okay.
So we've got some information that I think should be useful.
I put that on my list to do, but I'll just let you do it.
You'll have it, certainly can weigh in.
okay.
So if you would add it
Added that.
to the agenda.
I remember 24.
We can just talk about that after meeting. I don't think it has to be an actual addition, does it?
Well, I think it's good form, I think, to add it when you can, if it's going to be a discussion. Since it's your-
By consensus?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the next one.
First item we have, need a motion on the resolution for plan development fee schedule.
That's it? No more?
I know.
Man, what are we gonna do prior to the last 8 meetings we've had on it?
So
Okay.
so this is the wrong time to say, I've had some questions.
Yeah,
of these.
yeah. All right, with that said, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to establish planning and development fees for Riley County, Kansas.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a resolution to establish the planning and development fees for Raleigh County. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign, please.
Just for the record, moving your coffee to the other side of the laptop isn't covering up the smell.
So then there's no
job.
point.
Still
Feel
smells like
free-
caramel
feel
coffee.
free to enjoy it.
I didn't say it smelled bad. I just said, it's distinct.
The stage. Yep, it's on stink.
Yeah.
No,
So you can't spell distinct with, well, you can, but you can spell distinct wrong.
Thank you. Next, commissioners need a motion to approve real estate sales data search service agreement with Julian Roberts with MHK Sales for the appraiser's office.
we do that every year. We do that every year. don't we? And
I believe this is a new.
She's new. I got a card from her.
Oh, what?
Jolene sells, oh, okay, another realtor in town.
Did you say another?
Another, they've got a lot.
Okay. I've seen that name someplace else, too, maybe it wasn't here. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the appraiser's website contract with Julian Roberts with MHK Sales.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve appraiser's website contract with Julian Roberts with MHK Sales. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair sign, please. Next, commissioners need a motion to approve bid submitted by Buyer Construction to supply approximately 2,000 tons of 3/8-inch CMK crushed washed limestone chips in the amount of $30.30 per ton.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the crushed limestone chips. For the bid amount of $30.30 per ton.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the fresh limestone chips bid to Bar Construction. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
You have something, John?
Commissioner, you asking what last year's price was $26.90.
Okay.
So it's about $3.40 more.
About 11, yeah.
Not sure. You know, we'll look and see what we have in budget. If we can buy some more, have some more, we might be pretty tight with budget this year. Some of it. So we'll look at it and see if we can add on to that.
Okay,
That's over a 10% increase.
yeah.
Wait till you see our trash bill.
You're just full of good news, aren't you?
Can you just send Evan, please?
Yeah.
Where's Evan? Where's Evan?
I'll send him with the trash.
Okay, commissioners have the one tax roll correction that we asked to pull last week and we'll explain the reasons.
Morning, Commissioner. So I did research the website and I did talk to our commercial appraiser, who I did bring with me as well if there's additional questions. But there's actually more than one property for Go Cats. And so when you're looking at that website, the actual venue building is on the parcel that is currently listed as commercial. And so this particular parcel just has the one structure, which based on statute is residentially assessed. So. Is there any additional questions you had, or is that kind of cleared up a little bit? It was dancing that fine line, but we did confer with the other, a couple other county resources to verify that this is the most appropriate way to treat this particular person. So.
Yeah, I think on these, we're gonna have a real concern moving forward.
We attended a IAAO webinar concerning these Airbnbs for those and there was folks from Colorado, Hawaii, Florida, and Canada. through the
Tourist
IAAO
states.
webinar. Yeah, so.
You may want to get up to the microphone.
Sorry. So sorry, Steve Shirley. So we attended an IAAO webinar, and it was the ins and outs of these Airbnbs, and essentially between, like I said, Colorado, Florida, Canada, they all ultimately decided residential kind of assessment because of the structure. Now legislation can change, and like our current statute, that's what it boils down to. Like ultimately, it's the legislation, how it's written in the statutes. And that one, it's basically equivalent if it's 4 bedrooms or less, then it's classified as residential. It's a residential structure, those sort of things. Well, we may not 100% agree with that. That's what we have to roll. Yep, that's the statute.
It's gonna change here in the next couple of years. I just have to be.
That's that's we had good discussion and they talked about, how's it impacting hotel motels, those sort of things. And right now, at this time, there's not a lot of talk of it, but like you said, for future, there's probably going to be more discussion.
Yeah, as that gets more popular, they're gonna probably look into it more.
Yeah, exactly. So
My guess is it's probably gonna get moved over into agritourism. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, Lord.
sure.
Well, don't leave so soon. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
He knows when the lady.
Yeah, he does.
Good move to see your spot, get the heck away.
Yeah.
Okay, well, for now, I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and go ahead and make a motion to approve the tax roll correction.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to approve the tax roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair sign, please. Next, I need a motion to approve the following appointment and the resolution appointing Riley County representatives, council advisory boards, Patricia Peterson, museum board of trustees, and Sarah Ziegler, Riley County Public Health Council.
I was going through Sarah's kind of resume there. It's pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Cool. I'll go ahead and move and approve the following appointments to the resolution appointing Riley County representatives to the council advisory boards, Patricia Peterson, museum board of trustees, and Sarah Ziegler, Riley County Public Health Council.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve appointments to the Raleigh County Museum Board of Trustees and Public Health Council, specifically Patricia Peterson and the Museum Board and Sarah Ziegler for the Public Health Council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign, please. Next, I need a motion on shared leave donation form.
Where's, I didn't see the form.
Yeah, it's on page 38. The computer acting.
No, I just don't, I'm not seeing it there, that's all. Off the agenda.
Here it is, if you look at it.
Okay.
It's marked confidential, so it's not made public. to
Gotcha.
anybody.
You might be on the
Yeah,
public
you're on the
side.
public.
I am, I don't, I
Okay.
don't use the other one.
Yeah, that's one of these. FMLA.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll go ahead and move to approve the Riley County Shared Leave request form.
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve Raleigh County Shared Leave request form. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three signed, please.
Yeah.
Or should I have any changes of the minutes?
I don't.
Get a motion?
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes as written from the February 27th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
So moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the February 27th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tentative agenda is okay, commissioners?
Yeah.
Any items for next week's press conference? You have another form here. It's a form we have to sign for the state of Kansas for all elected officials' signatures. We already have Commissioner Ford's, need Catherine's and Greg's signature for the official state record of your signatures on file. Don't need a motion on it or anything.
That's just the list of- elections.
And all the commissioners and Clancy want to attend the Good Morning Manhattan on March 16th at 7:15.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not for me, Rich. Thanks.
And then all commissioners want to attend the Kansas County Commissioners Association meeting in Hayes.
I do, and I already got with Cindy on it.
Okay, Greg?
Yes. I had that on my notes at the end of the meeting today. Bring that up.
Maybe.
Sounds good. If you would just give me the days, and which program you want to attend and then which nights you want to stay. So we'll get that arranged. Next commissioner is about time to bid. This last one, please. There's us.
You have a letter open.
I do not have a letter.
Got one in your office.
Yeah, I've got one. I didn't know. I don't think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sure there's 40 degrees. It's hard to check. Good. Everyone. No, it's been 40. We haven't, not still there.
You're welcome, sir.
That's nice.
Say it out loud. One, not on.
Yeah. So,
I'll say it by.
Okay, first one is for Kendall Construction. Okay, addendum, I don't have anything to say with the addendums, we will do them. One, two, three. It's an addendum. Just there.
Addendum.
The
They
addendum.
acknowledge, they acknowledge, we do acknowledge.
Okay, so I have a.
So here's the
Okay.
bid amount, there's the days, which is where your form is.
Okay.
There's a time of-
Okay,
There's your days, and there's your addendums acknowledgements.
okay. All right. Okay, the bid for the North County ambulance is $913,633. Which addenda 1 and 2 are modifications to the bid documents. Completion of work within 52 weeks. Some notice to proceed. Start.
Sounds good.
And the first is from Kendall Construction, they do have a bid bond attached. Addendums 1 and 2 acknowledged. Total price $913,633. And 52 weeks for the completion.
Yep. Thank you.
This one would be Riley Construction. Now, let me go. There's a bid bond here. And $807,965.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Okay, $807,965. 210 calendar days to complete.
For the addendum, acknowledged on there.
Yes, addendums are not.
Do this one from Riley Construction. Bid bond attached and addendums 1 and 2 acknowledged. Total price $807,965. Completion in 210 calendar days. Yep.
Third one is from Icon Structures. $953,000. Even 210 days. Excluding generator. Complete with generator in 365 days. And generator has a 47-week lead time. Good, one addendum. Has been received, addendum 1, there's nothing here for addendum 2. And there's a bid bond attached.
Next bid from Icon Structures here in Manhattan. Again, bid bond attached. And only addendum 1 acknowledged. Total price $953,000. And 210 calendar days. Excluding generator.
Next one's from Schultz Construction. Your name of that. Okay, both addendums have been acknowledged. There is a bid document attached. And the bid is for $799,000. 240 calendar days. And generator 47 week lead time.
Bid from Schultz Construction. Bid bond attached, both addendums acknowledged. Total price $799,000. Complete work in 240 calendar days, and the generator for the 47 week lead time.
Oh, okay. It's a EMS page, yeah. Okay, okay.
Oh, he's not looking at
This estimate's from the architect, Anderson Knight Architects. Their estimate for construction is $838,125.
And tonight, the engineer's or architect's estimate, $838,125.
That's all the bids we have for the Worth County EMS station.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we send the bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation.
Second.
So moved and seconded to send the bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Guys, appreciate it.
Estimation of construction is a little higher than that, probably a little longer than I thought. But that's all right.
Next, Commissioner, you have Julie Gibbs at 9:15.
Okay. No. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, right.
About what I thought the price.
What was our original?
We started this.
$1 million.
Yeah. Well, they were talking completely fit, so that would be,
Oh, that was okay.
right, that would be with equipment.
And it probably, you know,
I think it included everything, included in generator, included everything except for manual.
Yeah,
Right.
which in that was already heard, or well, I don't think that all of them, most of it's in that.
Yeah.
The temporary one.
Yeah, but I don't know that. These trees, most of these trees. Just go. And the propane.
I get the trees cleared
I
out.
see it here. When I went up there Sunday for the Farm Bureau thing, it was still light enough to see the property. It's the one closest to the house.
Right.
Okay. I know that. The trees up there, yeah.
It didn't make sense to all the way back there, just come right back over there. Get distracted, there's something going on, and I'll be like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to miss the meeting.
No, it's. Okay. I just wanted to- No. Yeah, I think so.
I'm almost wondering,
Yeah, it's.
we should go ahead and just pay for this out of CIP and save the rest of the other bigger projects. Would be
Well,
easier.
well, either way, I would pay this one. And maybe you see that the other bill, but
It's 2, 1/2 dozen of the other,
Yeah.
either way.
We're gonna find out. They agreed to it. Now it comes to the. I know a couple months ago, they did. Talking to land. Okay, good.
And probably the other safer thing on that is,
And it may be not.
that's CIP for 2 years, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true, because it's good, you can save some this year.
They went up there and figured, well.
I don't know those numbers in.
Because we've already agreed.
Probably.
Right away. More than- But part of that was their acknowledgement that those trees were there this year. But we just had.
Put a gap in there for working days for materials, maybe. That seems like too long to stand the building up.
But 70 miles. August. The first, I had said that about.
Lots of extras every year. See, we got a solution. It's easy enough to write in there. Dan's gonna take care of that.
You gotta get the departments in Newtown to get the 6 people.
He's been working.
Yeah.
Morning.
Morning. Well, cold out there?
Lots of rain.
Creep back out on us pretty quick, didn't it? Yeah.
Well, ladies, how you doing?
Good, how about you?
Good. Closer to Friday.
Friday Eve.
Friday evening, I like that.
That's the two that I figured.
And I think they both work on these type of buildings specifically. And I was looking at those reasons.
Who does?
Riley and Schultz.
Yeah, I figured those two would be those. I would assume that'd be one of those.
I think saying the doing larger started. Actually, originally, all that. Tim was you go commercial.
Yeah.
Even though does all of our repair work at my apartment.
Yeah.
As for you.
In the DNR, did not originate with don't have people in the butters.
That was it.
Well, it's started well before that.
Riley's taken on several other, he bought out several other companies here too. Riley. So,
I got some metal building.
yeah, the carpenter.
Oh, yeah.
Alice did one for 2.5 years and stuff.
Ready, commissioners? Julie, ready?
Yep. Good morning.
Morning.
Second, can I get a motion, Commissioner?
Oh, yeah, need to make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Commission and reconvene as the Board of County Health.
I'll second.
So, moved and seconded to recess as the county commission and reconvene as the board of health, all in favor. Aye.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, as you probably remember, I was here last year around this time. We renew this contract and do a letter of intent every year for the OPEI, which is Outreach Prevention and Early Intervention Services Grant. The grant really is to provide weekly home visiting with an evidence-based curriculum to families needing just a higher level of support and resources in the community. And so we identify at-risk families and we provide intensive long-term home visiting support. We also use a curriculum called Promoting First Relationships and Promoting Maternal Mental Health. And then we use a lot of other evidence-based tools as well with that. And we offer services that are voluntary, but we do try to engage them throughout the entire period until their child turns 5 years of age. Usually when they turn about 3, they start doing early Head Start or other type of preschool type programs. So they kind of usually exit or phase out of our program at that point. And we work with families prenatal through 5 years of age. And so with the letter of intent, it's just stating that the Board of County Commissioners intend to renew the contract. And then also attached is the contract renewal. And the total funding this year is $480,000. And so that is a 50% match by Riley County, and then KDHE OPEI covers the other 240.
That up a little bit from last year? That's what I thought.
Yeah, yes. And that increase is due to the staff salaries.
Okay.
And we were fortunate enough that the KDHE grant contractor said that we could increase that to cover the salaries, that they would do, increase it their 50% and we would increase it our 50%.
Oh, okay.
To cover the staff salaries that we increased in January.
Nothing? Okay. Then I'll go ahead and make a motion to sign the OPEI letter of intent and amendment to the contract for renewal.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to sign the OPEI letter of intent and amendment to the contract for renewal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recess.
Yeah. I'll wait for it to finish time.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank you.
day.
Stay warm out there.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
It's supposed to snow, maybe.
I don't know, they keep lowering the percentage chances, so I don't know if we can get anything or not.
Looks like-
Might get a half inch.
Yeah. And it'll be later on this evening, so
Yeah.
probably
This evening, in the morning, and night after,
Yeah.
it'll be gone again.
it's supposed to be 70 by Sunday.
No.
Which is good because I've got some stuff planned on Sunday. Get done outside.
That's the old red, I was out working in the yard yesterday. Over there. Oh, that one.
John, I thought those bids coming pretty decent.
I was a little worried for this when you had 2 over 900 and the other one 800.
Yeah,
Why the big difference?
I would if I
Those two-
didn't know the companies.
yeah, those two
Well,
were the ones. I
Those companies
expected.
have done enough of those.
I'm trying to figure out the working day seem a little bit long for that. Are they padding some time in there for materials maybe?
And it could be because of the generator it look like,
Yeah.
or maybe they're really busy.
Yeah, that's just it workload too.
I mean, that was between the first one, their price and their working days is they're really busy. The other one, the price. Yeah, we're still kind of busy, but
We can fit it in.
maybe in next year.
Okay.
I have something to do with workload.
Anna's up next. Oh,
Recess.
yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commission.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recess as the Board of Health and reconvene as Board of County Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait.
8 minutes. Let's see.
You know, watch games Saturday. Well, there are really. Cooler out there this morning, all north wind makes it a little cooler, doesn't it? It's kind of strong. Moving in on we wish to turn the game. Oh, really? Yeah, they're not just getting started. We should have been warmed up after the game. We were, I'm more than that. I have bought, you can buy flyer tickets for healthy 85, yeah. I'm children, I bought tickets for PC or beta or something last night. I have the fourth out. He said that pre-game time. Paying to run that student section. He got the microphone and after sent all the players and all the pictures in the student section. They told us one whole lot of we were there with students. Students for yeah. They still afterwards they brought it all down to this thing.
each of the seniors. Yeah, I could afford it all. So I like the way they do the singing on the water. Yeah. To get it before the game. Yeah. They use the singing after the game or every week. Yeah. Well, they did, they put it out. 5 or 6. Second half, they put it out on there, saying, we remain seated for the special third. Oh, really? The game, yeah.
It was well planned out then.
Yeah, so they, and those, there are a few people that.
He's really brought a lot.
He's connected so much to the students and the community. If he stays, we could be the those striving about. Now, had a fellow board member.
No. Hi. Good morning. Nice to meet you.
Great.
Our neighbor and block of Apple.
Riley.
And Riley.
How long have you?
I lived in Lutterville for 35 years. Riley.
Yes, I think.
Well, it was interesting. My dad, was a great utility. And so when I bought my house in Riley, it was the only house for sale in Riley.
Oh.
And so probably the house in Lutterville was bought. So my dad came over after we bought the house and looked down and said, maybe in 5 years, he'll be retired. He's farming it. Well, the town farm, raise my family farm. And dad. But I never lived in life. The joke is Dollar General was likely to go on outside the highway. I know.
Still bad letter. I'm too early. I'm here. Maybe still that Riley's.
They'll use Jim's from Leonard on. That's the one spot that they could have been something else.
They wanted to be. You're correct. You don't want to say, this week.
Nice.
All day.
All day.
Yeah.
Little. Yes.
They will correct you.
Yeah. Okay, all right, morning commissioners, Deanna Burson, Riley County and Fraser. Here with the staff update. You've heard from me quite a bit, so I don't have to get into as much of details today. So personal property, our staff are currently still processing those return renditions. We're sitting at 58% return rate, and hopefully more property owners will return their renditions. They have until March 15th to return the renditions and avoid penalties. The penalties are statutorily assessed at 5% per month, up to a total of 50%. And those penalties cannot be reduced without the Board of Tax Appeal order. We highly encourage our property owners to return them as soon as possible. In total, there's just over 1,400 renditions still outstanding. We will not be sending out postcard reminders this year, as we went the extra step in the mailing of those renditions to make it perfectly clear on the front of those envelopes that you need to return that rendition to avoid. We also included postage paid envelopes for them to return them. So we determined the most fiscally responsible thing to do was to not add additional costs at this point. We have also transferred our personal property ag supervisor to the residential appraiser 3 position. Now, this is part of realigning duties and responsibilities in our office. Ag use should not be under the personal property umbrella, but would fall more appropriately under the residential duties and responsibilities. With that vacant position, we determined the most appropriate decision was to have one person specialize in all things agriculturally related, including the farm sites, farm home sites, ag use, throughout the county. She will transition to the residential department later this month. However, we'll still be assisting in the training of our personal property staff temporarily, serving in the dual roles until we get the vacant position filled. We're in the process of updating the position descriptions, removing the ag use from the personal property appraiser 3. And once that is all complete, we will come to you with the requested refill. Agricultural, historically, ag questionnaires, again, I just want to remind everyone, we're mailed every year, but state statute requires use verification every 2. To reduce the cost and improve processes, we've determined mailing once every 2 years is the best course of action. So in 2023, producers will not receive questionnaires, however, are again encouraged to continue reporting any change in use or production to our office. On the residential side of things, values have been set for 2023 and notices were sent out last Friday, February 24th. The typical increase as noted ranges from 7 to 17%, with that median value increase sitting roughly at 13%. Again, that's roughly. I didn't want to get into specific points, so I went with the roughly. As a reminder, if property owners are considering an appeal and would like to see their comparable sales report or additional sales information in their neighborhood, we encourage them to contact our office via the appeal line at the 785-537-6316 number. I'll go ahead and scroll there so you can see that, and we will email that requested information to any property owner looking for it. In total, we have conducted 85 payment under protest for 2022 valuation. And this includes both commercial and residential for the first half ups. All have been completed besides one currently scheduled. There was some scheduling conflicts. Property owner was actually out of town. So we did make some consideration in that. Annual review has already begun for the 2024 tax year. And the 2023 summary of sales and building permits. We are early in this. Sales validation is at a halt as we're entering informal appeal season. All sales in this report currently have not gone through our validation process. So we have recorded 52 sales, of which 47 are residential properties. The median sale price currently is sitting at $185,500 with an average sale price of $206,890. We've had 29 total new permits and 5 of those are new buildings. Our residential department is considered fully staffed as mentioned above. There will just be a period of transition as we migrate that ag use back to the residential side. On the residential, just a quick note, we received a request from a local news for an average increase. And so those numbers this year are actually fairly close to the median. The overall average residential value increase as a whole, the entire county was, I think, sitting at about 12.1. And for the city of Riley County as a whole, Riley County as a whole was 12.6, and the city, I believe, was 12.1. I might have those flip-flopped. I apologize. We just ran it yesterday. Again, close to that 13. You know, overall 13 that's kind of where I kept things. Medians right around that, dancing in the 12 range. So 13 was what I had reported. The commercial side of things, I've attached that commercial BOTA list again. No notable changes were in existence at the point when I put this together, all except for were scheduled. And as I noted here, there was a high probability many of the currently scheduled would be rescheduled due to the allotted time and dates the appeals and the availability of our expert witnesses and our attorneys. Well, yesterday we received notification of several being continued. And I anticipate without a date, I mean, they just noted continued. The representation on the other side requests continuance and no dates have been set on some of those. So I anticipate that's going to happen. I know that our attorney and our expert witnesses had some conflicts with some of those original dates. So I anticipate seeing a lot of schedule changes. All phases of the analysis for the 2023 have been completed. Right now, we're just working to submit all the documentation to PDD, all of the mailing documentation and the various things. Now, this is kind of tiny, but the one thing is you can zoom in and out on your screen just to see that's the full list. Nothing additional at this point. And that is about all I have. Lots of legislative stuff kind of on and off, you know, with bills being passed and then stricken, and there's a lot that potentially could impact our office and our processes. It'll be interesting to see. We're paying close attention. I mean, as Clancy mentioned, it sounds like there's a meeting a little bit later to discuss one of the particular bills. While it doesn't directly impact what we do, we play a part in having to process all of those applications. So it'll be interesting just to kind of see how that all pans out. That's all I have for you now. Like I said, I've kind of been up here good in the last few weeks. Do you have any questions for me on anything at this point?
That's, like I say, you were saying they're probably rescheduling, because I see there'll be like 6 of them for the same
Yeah,
3-hour span.
That's not realistic.
That doesn't
And,
work.
yeah.
That's, I mean, that leaves you 20 minutes a piece. It does, I'm guessing it takes longer. than
It
20
takes
minutes.
more than, I mean, an hour for one particular year. I mean, that's the interesting piece on how that got scheduled that way. I can't speak to that, but I know that Mike, our attorney, was very much, yeah, that's not realistic. So it's just a matter of the attorneys contacting the board, getting things rescheduled. I know that our commercial department's working on getting those cases prepped. We thought we might have one settled. It is not. We were hopeful. We tried, and we're very fair in the offer. And at this point, we'll go to the board. We have enough documentation to just move forward. So we're doing what we can to try to, you know, move through these, but a lot of that's just weighing on the board and the other side continuing.
Well, these were scheduled last year. You weren't even getting.
We weren't even getting anything scheduled last
scheduled,
year.
So.
This is true. I mean,
It's
we're
step
glad
one.
they all came in as Commissioner Ford had mentioned, they'll probably all come in at one time and
Yep.
sure enough, I mean, within the course of everything but 4 were scheduled, though those schedules just really not realistic. I mean, the time for those is just not realistic.
Are they
So,
basing the schedules off of, I guess, properties that are kind of similar and like in nature to the appeal? Figured. And that's why they're doing it short, because they figure the argument's gonna apply to each and every one of them, and that takes.
And the problem is it's not always that
Yeah.
same case for each
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you have to almost hear it anew in some cases, so.
Start over.
Because
each
we had
year.
tried with the Home Depot case, it was supposed to be and scheduled to hear both. But then they got there, we had expert witnesses, I mean, ours, that was a very long appeal and they only heard 1 year.
Yeah.
So then we have to have expert witnesses and attorneys all come back again to hear almost an identical case with maybe a few slight differences all over again. So it's a long, drawn out and expensive process, so. Doing what we can. Anything else?
And again, we're one county, but I'm sure they.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can imagine.
Involve that, so.
You can imagine that and we're very fortunate to have, I mean, like I said, the staff, the attorneys, and you know, the fee appraisals in a lot of regards. I mean, some counties don't have the staff to do some of what we are capable of doing, so I feel very fortunate in that regards. Anything else? Okay, well, I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Hopefully I won't be back for a little bit.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. You have Kevin Larson at 9:45.
You go down.
No, we have to wait for the
5
end of
minutes.
the time published.
Why don't I go ahead and hand you this out? This is just a little flow chart of who
Thank
we
you.
represent, who's on the board.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. What was it? Oh, yeah, they were really excited, they were in Manhattan. Especially the business association, she was all excited about the new things. Well, the sign, inside's the same, but it's the sign. Oh, but I mean.
You like city does, and they try to access.
Maybe we should hand it back to the same. Okay. Looks like not a bad idea. Yes. Send it to the staff, huh? It does.
It's a good chart. I like
Mhm.
that. I like that.
Fiscal year is January. That's when budget is set, everything else is. To do. Sometimes you have something that. Because we supported about 20 people. And we started making things for
So used our funding to use paper sign.
Really?
Instead of just us.
Oh, yeah. And they didn't come and talk to us. Okay, it's 9:45.
Well, Kevin Larson, I'm the president of the Raleigh County Council on Aging. I have a board member, Katie Pursley, with me today. And basically, as you are aware, the Raleigh County Council on Aging, as you can see, oversees the spending of all these funded agencies. And this was an agency set up to by the government to have an area to provide funding for these various senior citizen activities. And certainly, as we can see, the North Central Flint Hills area
Eric, Agency on Aging, with Rose Landis as the head of it. They oversee the Meals on Wheels program. And so the Flint Hills is composed of about 16 different counties, and Riley County is one of them. And out of that, they oversee the Meals on Wheels programs through all their counties. And they are responsible for the Meals on Wheels, which are prepared at the Manhattan Senior Center here in Manhattan. So it's kind of interesting situation. The center is owned by Riley County. The kitchen is operated by the Flint Hills area. And certainly the situation that we have encountered there is that in the last 4 years, we have received no increase in funding from the county for any of these activities. And certainly that time period, as certainly we saw last presentation, the value of properties going up, inflation is hit. And we came up with a situation last year where the cook and the assistant cook both said, you know, we're only getting $10 some an hour. It's head cook and the assistant cook was getting less than that. And they said, if we don't get $15 an hour, we're going to quit. So we had to scrounge around and find up some extra money for them. And the assistant cook never even waited to see if we could get some extra money, and she quit. And as the last I knew, they had not even been able to hire an assistant cook yet for that program. And they put out probably 200 to 250 meals every day that are out there. And the problem now we have not only that for the cook, but they hired a person to oversee the volunteers. You know, they depend on volunteers to deliver the meals and to do that. And so this person is kind of the coordinator of the volunteers, sets up the routes and everything. And she was hired, I think, at around $10 an hour, but she really feels like she needs more money than that. And so again, we're going to come up with a deficit on that particular part. And obviously, I would say that the Meals on Wheels program is probably one of the more popular programs of the senior citizen who work there. Obviously, we do help fund Good Shepherd Home Care and Hospice. And that, of course, is a very valuable program and a very popular one in our area. It's the only nonprofit hospice care in the county. There's a lot of hospice entities in the county, but Home Care and Hospice is the only one, that Good Shepherd, that is nonprofit. Then we have the Flint Hills Volunteer Center, which oversees volunteers for numerous different items. And you go through and look at their list, and they're putting out appeals for volunteers for all types of situations. And then the other one that probably takes some of our money is the Manhattan Senior Center, which occupies over here not too far away, but does a myriad of a lot of activities. And then, of course, we have the Blue Valley Randolph Seniors, the Leonardville Council on Aging, the Ogden Group, the Riley Senior Meals, the Zendale Senior Center, Silver Haired Legislators that basically provide area input for seniors around the area. So Randolph meets on the every Monday at around 11:30. And they have a meal served to them there. Leonardville meets every Tuesday at noon at the Leonardville Community Building. Ogden meets, I think, about weekly too. I'm not real familiar what day for sure. Riley meets every other Wednesday at noon at the City Hall in Riley. And the Zendale Senior Center has started up again, and they are working at quite a lot of programs and such. And the silver-haired legislature at this point is vacant, but that appointment will be made by the North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging and such. So those are the entities that we help fund. I would say that probably the Randolph, Leonardville, Ogden, Riley, Zendale, Silver-Hair are probably pretty much, they're okay with the funding we've been receiving pretty much. It's those top four that are probably feeling the real pinch of the inflation and stuff along that particular line. And then just a little point over on the representatives there, we I think by our constitution, we are to have a representative representing each of you county commissioners. And so for District 1, we do have Carl Priest, who has been appointed. But you notice in District 2 and District 3, we have no one that has been appointed. to be there. They are to attend our meetings and to kind of be a liaison between you, the county commissioners, and us, and back to you. So you'd be a little more aware of just what type of programs are being taken place and what our needs are. And we can get a little feel from you as to what's going on as well. So it's a very, since I've been on the board, certainly become aware of just the need for this activity for seniors. Obviously, the meals provide a chance for seniors to get together, have a time of fellowship, and get together. They oftentimes stay after and play cards or different things like that to share that time of fellowship together. Because one of the things that you'll find is that it's awful difficult for people they don't like to go out and eat by themselves. And this is an opportunity for them to do it. And obviously with the money that you are funding us, it's a supplement to get the money a little more equitable for everybody. So like, for instance, in Randolph, they now charge $7 for a meal. Leonardville charges $3 a meal. Riley charges $5 a meal. And so that's kind of how they feel their budget can fit into the situation at that particular point in time. When the Flint Hills Area Agency ran into a little bit of funding for their cooks, we suggested they ought to charge more for their meals because they were suggesting $3.50. And they said, well, that's we could do that. But the Meals on Wheels program is a voluntary contribution. People pay only what they feel they can pay. And that's the way the whole system was set up. And so the average pay that they get per meal overall is $1.50. And so basically you can raise it to $10 and you still get $1.50 because it's all voluntary for what it is. So it's a need that is out there, probably serving a population that probably doesn't have the resources. The Meals on Wheels program also has somebody who shows up at the house every day. And in many cases, there are people who will tell you that they have turned up. People didn't answer the door. They were in medical distress, or in some cases they have died, but they were the person who were there to check on them. They were there every day and they were having that opportunity. So it's a very worthwhile program in terms of all of that we have there. So I do appreciate the people that are on my executive board. It's sometimes difficult to get people who are willing to step up and to take on this responsibility. And so, but overall, I think we're striving to fulfill the need of seniors in Riley County, and particularly, I think in my situation up in the northern part of the county, it's a very valid point of showing people up there that someone cares about it. And that's kind of a general feel that you have that. Because we have a couple of people at the Randolph Seniors who very oftentimes will tell me, we live closer to 3 other county courthouses than we do Riley County. And that's very true. So they live closer to Marysville and Washington and Clay Center than they do to Manhattan. It's kind of hard to believe, but now if we would have years ago, back when Riley Center was established and they put a plea out to be the center of the county, to have the county seat, we probably wouldn't have that problem, but that was not to happen. So that's it. But anyway, any questions any of you might have?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On your Meals on Wheels program, does that go up into the rural areas or?
They have tried. They do go to Ogden now.
Okay,
And the problem that you have, and certainly even for Ogden now, is you have to find a driver who will drive it, take the meals, and they're willing to pay the driver. And then you have to have somebody at Ogden who is ready to receive the meals or have a group that's going to meet someplace where the meals can be delivered. Now, when they came up to Leonardville and Riley, and there was a great push here a year or so to bring the Meals on Wheels programs up to Leonardville, Riley, and Randolph. The problem that they had was, number one, getting a driver who would take the meals up from Manhattan up there. But they would not deliver them house to house. So they would deliver them to a central location. And then you'd have to have somebody from Leonardville, Riley, and Randolph to pick up the meals and deliver them to the different respective houses. And, you know, you'd think that that would be such a challenge, but they just couldn't get any volunteers. So it's a kind of, that was kind of a downer in terms of that. That's somebody who would be responsible for like 5 days a week to be there to receive the meals and deliver them and stuff like that. And basically, I think even at the same time, when they looked out into the community, there was some interest, but probably what they felt like not enough interest to suffice. But that's a lot.
So the seniors in those areas have to rely on going to the senior center every week.
They have takeout.
They do have takeout.
Yeah, they do take out, and now the Leonardville hires their own cook.
Okay,
And the Leonardville, the situation is the kitchen at the Leonardville Community Building is registered or accepted by the state as a cooking facility. So they hire a cook there, and then she will deliver meals from there. Randolph, they have meals brought in, and if people order, and when she brings the meals in, they're self-contained meals, so they're all in styrofoam. So if people wanted to, other people in the community can order them, and then there are people in town that will deliver it to them afterwards. And Riley, there is some, we have the Riley Cafe is hired to prepare the meals and bring them over. And then there are the ladies who we hire from the center there to serve the meal, etc. They will make up dinners and take them out to people. So there is an opportunity on those 1 days a week to have a meal, hot meal.
and your funding covers those meals.
Yeah, what they do is, like say, for instance, in Randolph, I think the lady is charging like $11 some a bill, and the people are paying $7. So they are.
So you cover the difference.
So they're using your supplement here to supplement that pay, and that's sort of what it's doing like that. And such, so that's what they're doing. So Riley, I think they have people pay $5. Leonardville pays $3. And I'm not basically, so that's a little bit, and I don't know for sure. Ogden is actually having Meals on Wheels delivered here from Manhattan. Kitchen here. So that's probably as of all those agencies between the home care hospice and the Meals on Wheels, those are probably the most visible activities in the county that we have to the average population. And maybe even the Flint Hills Volunteer Center would be the one that, you know, if you go out into the community, I would say that if you would ask the average person about Meals on Wheels, they probably would have an idea what you're talking about and such. So that's so we really need to make sure that we can get adequate funding so we can keep cooks and stuff going, because like the one cook said, I can go to McDonald's and do that. Now, when we did go through a couple of years ago, we did go through and contact the different other counties in the north central Flint Hills area about how they were handling the cooks and what they were paying, you know, to get an idea. A couple of counties actually have put the cooks on the county payroll, and they are county employees. And so therefore their salaries are paid by the county. They have the county benefits and stuff like that. And they just put them on the county payroll. So they are the head cook and the assistant cook are county employees. And so that way it becomes, you know, not quite such a problem. It gives them a little more stability, a little more validity and such like that. But that's certainly an issue that we can talk about stuff, because that would probably give a little more stability to that particular program. Any other questions? Kitty, anything you'd like to say?
No, only the demographics are showing that our senior population is growing in Riley County. And so our need is just gonna keep increasing.
Yeah, it seems like everybody I turn around is retiring. I said the biggest shock to me was I had a former student come up and say, I sure hope you can come to our class reunion this summer. Because we're celebrating our 50th class reunion. And I said, did I teach you? I had taught somebody been out of school for 50 years, but now that would, I think the oldest class now has been out for about 53 years. So it's hard to believe. How do we get over so fast? Anyway, other questions? Well, we appreciate your support and we'll be back here in a couple of months or so with our budget request and see what we can do with that. Yeah. Thank you so much for all you do. We sure appreciate your willingness to step forward and step into the public arena. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's perfectly in public works.
What?
Woke up.
Did you volunteer me?
Never mind, just go back to sleep.
Sometimes that's easier.
Probably. I've cooked for 80 before. That's quite a process. Okay, let's see. Okay, Amanda, there you go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director, here with Planning and Development's monthly staff update or staff report. And we'll just dive right in. Short-term rentals, we were able to issue 3 more licenses in February. However, unfortunately, we have not received any new applications in. So we still have those 6 on our list that have not applied. And we're working with Craig to reach out to them and hopefully compel compliance. But I'm sure, as you can imagine, that's probably going to be a little bit of a challenge. But we have found a couple more. So our list is, if you will, kind of growing. But we don't want to consider those part of the violations, if you will, because again, we're just finding them. So
How do we actually get them to comply? Yes,
that's the question.
Working on it.
Unfortunately, yeah. As you know, we're
I do.
kind of limited on things, so. I was on K-Man in Focus with Commissioner McKinley a couple weeks ago, and we did discuss the short-term rental regulation. And so I think also talking about it, making sure people are aware, because I'm sure there are still people out there who don't really know. Obviously not the 6 on our list, but there are some people out there who probably still don't really realize that these still apply to them. So we're still wanting to make sure we talk about it and get that word out so people are aware. So speaking of code enforcement, Darren and Perry will be before you on Monday to talk a little bit more about their respective process and procedures and some of the typical cases that they see and what they tend to do with those sorts of things. So we'll have a little bit more discussion on that on Monday. Just one note for current planning, our planning board, Riley County Planning Board, will review a request for a replat and update to the final development plan associated with PUD at their meeting on the 13th of March. And then it will come before you folks the following week for a final decision. But just FYI, they will be seeing that mid-month. Solid Waste Management Committee, I know Commissioner Foki talked about this a little bit this morning. So we have held a couple meetings so far in February with more to come. We are working on our 2023 annual solid waste management plan review. As you know, we have to review every year. We are required by the state to review every year. We're not necessarily anticipating a whole bunch to change this year because we are going to be doing our full 5-year update next year. So you folks will see that information next month because of course you need to review and support before I send that to the state. We'll talk a little bit more about that with the committee and kind of what we need to do with that. And also, as Commissioner Foki mentioned, we're working on finding some new members. I'll need to work on finding a new chair. But I mean, we do still have a pretty good group, which I'm glad for, but we have lost a couple folks. So just kind of working on getting some new folks in there. So Chairman Gallitzer that Commissioner Foki mentioned before, he did give me a few names at K-State. He's retired from K-State. So there are a few people that I can reach out to hopefully get them interested in coming our way. So, and if you folks know of anybody, please let me know and I can probably reach out to them. So. Let's see, so personnel wise, we have our new clerical assistant starting on Monday, so we're really excited to have that position filled and getting somebody back in with us. And then of course, on the flip side, we've lost our environmental health specialist. Perry's last day is next Friday. That position, of course, you folks approved refilling and contract assistance. In the meantime, of course, it's been posted on the Riley County website. We've also posted it on KEHA, Kansas Environmental Health Association, and NEHA, the National Environmental Health Association, on a couple of their web pages, their job pages. Perry and myself have also just talked to a variety of people kind of in the field, you know, help us spread the word, you know, get this out that we have this position open. Still working to see if we can get some contract assistance in the meantime. The person who helped us last year is not available. So excuse me, so still working on that one too. So this one, I'm a little bit nervous that it might be a little bit difficult to get somebody in here, but we'll just keep at it and do what we can do. And actually, I'll have more information for you folks. I think I'm on the agenda because I'm always on the agenda now, right? Next.
What's sarcasm there? Is that what I get so fun?
No, it's kind of a joke that-
Clancy getting concerned, your name's getting in the minutes more than his.
No, you don't.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the EHS transition position next Thursday, kind of some of the things I'm thinking about. With that. Comprehensive plan update. Of course, we've already kind of had some conversation about this about your last meeting, and I'll be before you at the end of the month to keep talking about it and keep moving forward with this. This is definitely something you'll see me at least every month, if not more, probably more, as we really get into it.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think maybe a better way to go about this, probably moving forward in terms of updates, is to keep it segregate from everything else. So do just a separate update on the comprehensive plan itself, because I think as we go along that process, more and more people are going to be inquisitive about that. So we just kind of keep it as is instead of a staff update or a monthly thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, as we go, there'll be a lot more to talk about.
Exactly.
It makes sense to, kind of have that kind of by itself, so.
Maybe we plan for a specific time within our agenda for that, like 9 o'clock on the third Thursday or whatever.
Okay, sure.
That way, when people are wanting to know about this, and they know specifically what time to tune in or come in or whatever.
More time on the agenda.
That was sarcasm from Clancy. You
No,
pick
I'm
up-
just trying I'm trying to help.
Well, because I know Commissioner Ford, you were concerned earlier because, you know, we're done with fee scheduling, so what are we gonna talk about next?
If
So,
I remember right, we're meeting Monday. I've got ideas.
yes, we have a
Okay.
meeting Monday, so.
I've got
So then we'll
ideas.
probably be 4 on the agenda, so.
There could be, you just don't know yet.
Of course, want to talk quickly about the Keat Sewer Benefit District. We are having a community meeting next Thursday at 7 p.m. with Keat United Methodist Church. I'm gonna of course talk about the project status, kind of what we've been working on in the background, kind of behind the scenes, as we like to call it, and kind of what our next steps are moving forward. Local Vivian has been great. She's been getting the word out there to the local media. So I know at least a couple of them are planning to attend. We're really kind of trying to get people informed and kind of get a little bit of a buzz around this. People are really aware. Not just the people who are residents out there, but the greater public and folks are aware of what's going on out there. So quick side note about that, one of the TV stations in, I believe, Topeka, unfortunately made some incorrect comments about this when they did their broadcast the other night. Vivian has reached out to correct them. Obviously, we can't go back on the broadcast. What's out there is out there, but they have changed the articles. So is now that we're avoiding, having people leave, not that we want to have people. So just want to make sure you folks are aware that Vivian was on the top of that one, so. Fee schedule review, of course, we got that one done this morning, so thank you for that. Let's see, battery recycling, I always like to talk about this one. Michael Bowler and I did our presentation to the Optimist Club in February. It was a great presentation. Everybody was really appreciative. They asked a lot of great questions. Lots of people came up to us to, again, ask more questions and maybe see if we can talk with other groups. So we were really happy about that. Because of course, the whole idea is really getting the word out, the information out of what's recyclable and what people need to do with them. So one big one that people did thank us a lot, I should say Michael, about, he mentioned that you can recycle your hearing aid batteries. So they were very, very excited and appreciative to find that information. So, and again, when I was on came in with Commissioner McKinley, so we talked about the battery recycling program there as well. So, and again, clearly still have thousands of stickers and flyers. The committee is still discussing ways to really get this information out to the public. Because of course, the idea is to have those stickers on cans. So we're trying to figure out what the best method is to go out doing that. And I think that's probably everything I wanted to hit on. So any questions, anything I can look into for you? All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, and have a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks, Commissioner. Mr. Holman with the executive session, full-time Clancy.
Yes, please.
So we're having steak and lobster next Wednesday for lunch, is that right?
We're definitely having.
Steak.
Rich informed me that we were gonna have lobster too.
Rich did not inform me.
Well, we don't have.
Rich.
I didn't specify which.
I didn't see any donations from Rich to get the line.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
Farms around, I don't think.
We can have it plugged in. It's just okay.
Steak and crawdads. That's,
Way they do that steak, you won't miss anything else. It's a good steak.
It is.
All ice cream.
I've been eating, I went a long time without eating ice cream at all. And then I think it was the Riley County, the fire event, they had Call Hall ice cream there.
Yeah.
And now it's like just showing up again all of a sudden everywhere, yeah.
Save you one
And I
step.
can't say no to
So
that.
if you just.
I'll say no to all other
Change
ice
this
cream, but I can't say no to
Oh,
that.
I know, they had some down in Pico last week, the labor meeting. had
Yeah.
Big
Oh, really?
pots, I don't know, wow. They were making all sorts of different, like, with their clothes, Sundays.
I had the strawberry cheesecake one, and it's just like. Can't say no, I can't. Some things in life, you just can't say no.
Irish cream, really good. It's like an extra creamy vanilla basically.
They used to have one, it was a Swiss mint, and it was heavy on the chocolate, but not heavy on the chocolate taste, really rich. And then they put chips of it in there along with it. I don't think they make that one anymore, but
Now you know when you're stopping on the way home today.
no. No, we're not. Anything else first?
Just the executive section.
Okay. Go ahead and move that the county commission, including Chairwoman Foki, Vice Chairman Ford, and Commissioner McKinley recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Clancy Holman, Riley County Counselor, attorney for the commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 10:30 a.m.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to recess into executive session until 10:30. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
It's right in the middle of the flag.
No, I know what we said, go to local bars and meetings.
Yeah.
You got her over there.
Oh, go ahead and move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board come out of executive session, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
I also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board reached consensus.
Thank
you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Morning.
Are you ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, great. We got some good news earlier this year that the Department of Corrections was going to give back the unexpended funds that agencies didn't spend in FY 22, and that has not been the case for gosh, as long as I can remember. They have always kept those dollars at the state level and not disperse them back to the communities that actually generated them. And so they followed the same formula that they do when they give us our grant allocations. So we were eligible, since we were in compliance fiscally with Department of Corrections, we were eligible for $23,329.19 in unexpended funds. Those do have to be spent by June 30th. And timing wise, as you know, we were here last month and did some line item adjustments in order to cover expenses in each line item. And so we went back and looked at where we shorted ourselves on previous line item adjustments, as well as I'll try to make it a little bigger. We had two individuals just in the last month that had changes in their personal situations and had to add insurance as a result. So you will see that a bulk of that is down in insurance benefits because it's mid-year and those were not budgeted on either side, whether it was our state dollars or from you folks. You had asked us the last time that we were here to get with other community corrections agencies or other people who get revenue from multiple places. And so I reached out to the health department, and Shelley Hayes, as you know, has been doing what she does for 27 plus years. And so she was able to provide this spreadsheet that we have been very busily working on, and so that we can include it in the packet each month that we meet with you. And they basically, and we're not done with it, so you see some red numbers, but it'll give you the budget to actuals, and then we'll be able to highlight if there are any discrepancies, whether we're overspending or underspending. And that, as we can add, you know, grants as we get them. So those are all of our funding sources. And I think we have 3 that we're currently working on as we speak to finalize those, just so that we can keep better track of all sources of funding, and you guys, you know, it hopefully will make more sense to you guys. So I just wanted to highlight that we were following up on what you had recommended when we were here last time. The other piece of this commission agenda report, it doesn't require any of your approval, but I wanted to let you know that we had dollars left in FY 20 or your calendar year 22 from your appropriations that you had given us for drug courts. And we reached out to Rich and his folks to see how they wanted us to handle that. And of course, giving it back was the right thing to do. And so the reason that we had money left over was partly because we had outside grant funding that we tried to expend
first, and then our hotel reservations got severely messed up. And we weren't charged for several nights of stay in Nashville, and so we are giving back, let me see what that is. $2,765.61. But that doesn't necessarily require any approval, I don't believe. In fact, I think we already did the journal entry to return it Tuesday. So the only thing is the amended budget with our Department of Corrections adult funds in the amount of 23,000. Where it was. 329.19. Questions on that? Doesn't total it, doesn't just. The very top.
That's just for 1 quarter.
It's like 1 3/4 quarter. We can send it through June 30th, and we got it deposited this first week of February or second week of February, but we had to go through the Joint Corrections Advisory Board and then of course you folks before we can spend it. I forgot to say that part. The Joint Corrections Advisory Board reviewed it last Thursday and sent over their signature.
Or Bruce.
I just wanted to see if there was any questions. No. Go ahead and make a motion to approve the fiscal year 22 unexpended funds award amendments as submitted.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the year 22 unexpended funds award. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Chair sign, please.
Ready? Okay. I know I frequently talk about the Joint Corrections Advisory Board or JCAB, and I thought it would be good if you were familiar with who was making these recommendations to you. So we have an advisory board that meets 9 times a year, and it is actually mandated by 2 different statutes, one for adult corrections and one for juvenile corrections. And on the left side, you can see that is who appoints the member, and it's very specific on who can serve on the board or who is to serve. I'm gonna blow it up so my eyes can see it, but over here. The city commission has some appointments, law enforcement has appointments, prosecution has appointments, and of course, since we are a judicial district, they have to be kind of agreed upon or collaborative appointments between the 2 counties. Kind of our rule of thumb is always to have at least 3 members from Clay Center. It kind of fluctuates over time, but for the most part, we are able to maintain that. We also have to have different membership guidelines as far as 2/3 male female ratio. There's some other requirements within the statute, but I just kind of wanted to show you all who was on it, since I'm always talking about the advisory board. With that, they sent you recommendations regarding your county alcohol funds. I think in about 2011, maybe, your predecessors had asked them to kind of oversee and recommend funding, kind of do the work up front before for you guys. And before you have recommendations to fund 3 different entities, if you will. Just a point of highlight, we usually average around $4,000 income a year, and for 2022, we received $12,920, and Shiloh actually reached out and spoke with the folks at the state, and that's a result of some businesses in the county opening up and or starting to serve alcohol. So that was kind of good to see those increase of income. They recommended 3 to you. There's one that's pending recommendation, and I'll kind of just go over the reasons why they aren't recommending this one right now. Ogden Community Center had recommended, requested money, and the Joint Corrections Advisory Board is wants to know more about the curriculum that they're providing, who might be providing the curriculum. They do not believe that one-time events meet the requirements of the statute. So like throwing a party or a community event really isn't meeting the prevention, intervention, and education statute. They also have never asked for year-end reports to outline how the funds were used and to return any unexpended funds. And they voted last week that they would like to start doing that, if that's okay with you folks, just to hold people a little bit more accountable to the dollars. It's not a lot that we're giving any one entity, that they are giving any one entity, but still nonetheless, it's public funding and needs to be accountable to the public. So Jesse and I will be working with the Ogden Community Center on how to shore up their programming to ensure that it does meet the statute. And other than that, we have an exciting new applicants. USD 378 and 384 want to start providing what's called life skills curriculum, and that is actually renowned evidence-based curriculum for drug and alcohol prevention. And they are going to start providing it, or at least we're going to help expand them providing it in their school districts. And that is the one that USD 383 has used for several years. So we're familiar with it, and I'm excited about that expansion. So those are the recommendations. 1,200 to USD 378, 900 to USD 384, and 3225 to drug court. That would give you a balance of 10,258.17 remaining after the allocations. Pending all of it. We would come back to you after we provide training and technical assistance for Ogden. Because we certainly want those resources in that community, we just need to shore it up.
Where is that amount shown on this paperwork?
So I'll scroll down. It's the multicolored one.
Let's
See.
Go down to the very bottom. Okay.
Yeah,
I was
so-
looking for another form you had up there.
It's like FY11 is when the Joint Corrections Advisory Board started helping out the commissioners as far as recommending it. You have any questions on the Ogden piece of it?
No, it's not getting anything. Or
Not right now, until we provide more assistance to them to help them meet the requirements of the statute.
Is 384, they also requested, is there half Pot County and I don't know if exactly numbers roughly. I don't know if
That's a
got
great
some
question. I was not aware of that.
Pot of water.
Or do they sit in Riley?
That, well, high school is in Riley.
The district
The
itself.
grade school is in Oldsburg, it's in Oldsburg.
We could certainly reach out to the social worker that wrote the grant and make sure that it just goes for Riley County kids. Is that?
No,
They're consolidated, so there's
Okay.
no way to separate
There's
it
no
out.
way to separate. I
Okay.
just wondered if they,
If they ask
maybe
Pot County,
doesn't have the funds available, I don't know.
you know, I don't know what Pot County does with theirs, but they would have a similar pot of money. We might encourage her to reach out to them though, to apply for it, to expand it even further.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I'm excited about that idea. I feel like we subsidize Potawatomi County, I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I didn't think of that either. But then again, USD 383, it just isn't in Riley County either. There's a very small sliver of Buncie County.
No, well, but it's not enough, I mean.
No, I think it's like 4.
378, actually, I think had a corner,
Yeah.
a couple of people out of Clayton, but Blue Valley Randolph, and I don't know the numbers exactly, but it looks like the area. Covers both areas.
If it would make you feel more confident, we could certainly ask for numbers, you know, of Riley County kids that are served.
Might help along the way on that. It might be something you might bring back to the
Yeah.
board when they have those future discussions on that. Because they're probably not, several of them should be aware of that, but some of them probably don't.
For sure.
Okay.
And are you folks okay, just probably by consensus, with them requesting year-end reports to show how the funds were used, as well as to return any unexpended like we did today?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
great.
Surprised it wasn't that already.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised somebody hasn't.
Especially when that money's coming from basically being rerouted to the state back. Sleight of hands, okay. Go ahead and then make a motion to approve funding USD 378 in the amount of $1,200 and USD 384, the amount of $900. Out of the county alcohol tax dollars.
And
Oh, yeah, sorry, and the Riley County Drug Court, an amount of $32.25, sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve funding, of county alcohol tax dollars for USD 378, USD 384, and for the Riley County Drug Court. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And hopefully within the next 30 days, we'll be back with recommendations for opt-in for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. David Adams.
Morning, Commissioners. David Adams, EMS Ambulance Director with building update for you. So getting started, North County EMS Station. County staff are working on the agreement with the city of Leonardville on clearing of the alley that has some encroachment of trees in it. So I know Clancy's office has been in touch with the city attorney there for Leonardville. We're working on that. So it sounds like it's going to take a couple of readings, since it's a city, according to Clancy, it's how he believes it's going to be. So, but it won't stop construction. All the alleys or all the lots around it are city owned, so we'll be able to still access it. So that will, getting those cleared won't stop them from getting started, which is a positive. So obviously got the bids this morning for construction, and those have gone back to Dan Knight for review. And he'll get it back to us, he thought pretty quickly, and,
You're okay.
what's that?
He's got a recommendation.
Okay, so we'll be back in front of you next week with recommendations. So, and then the city of Leonardville, my understanding is waiving the permit fees along with fees to hook up water and sewer. So we appreciate that from them. So. Costs associated, so we've had no costs from the last time I was here. So we're still at $39,543.75, but I expect the architect costs, if they haven't come in yet, will come in pretty quickly. So and then obviously upcoming bid packets received and reviewed. So the public safety headquarters, the contract between the county and BHS is in process. We received the first writing of that contract from Arc Images a couple of weeks ago. John's been reviewing those and happened to make some of the county's input into some of those. So he and I have talked a couple of times. He's working through that. Hopefully we'll get that done and submit it to BHS in the near future. So we're waiting the updated drawings from Arc Images, and that's based on the conversation that was had here a few weeks ago about the dispatch and setting it up for potential future, making it a full dispatch, and then that shell floor. So we do have a meeting coming up that we just finalized here last week. So I'll talk about that in a moment. County staff, including IT, are meeting with RCPD staff and finalizing the IT plans and cost estimates. I expect a doodle poll to come out from Corey today to our groups to find a meeting time, so we can get those final numbers from RCPD and such. So, like I said, I would expect that to come out, today, tomorrow at the latest, to kind of find a time where we can get 15 people in the same room at the same time. So along those lines, county staff and RCPD staff met a couple of weeks ago, and then our county staff met again last week or so about the IT needs and what Corey needs from us as far as the security, the cameras, the door locks, and all that kind of stuff. So very good meeting. We learned a lot from Corey. So it's a lot of moving parts. We're putting a lot of things together. It's starting to come together. So, but there's always something that somebody says, "Oh, what about this?" So, but we're getting there, and it's moving along pretty well. Costs associated paid since last update, we paid $10,500 for the geotechnical services of that land, so we would know what kind of what's underneath the grass, if you will. And we paid $1,572.50 for the CMAR selection of reimbursables. That was to Arc Images. That was part of the contract that was built in. So to date, we spent $251,347.93. So, and I appreciate Bertra over at Public Works. She's one who tracks all those, and I just get with her and make sure our numbers are the same. So, and then upcoming, the contract with BHS will be finalized. We did reach out to Arc Images about the zoning meetings that are going to have to occur in the neighborhoods, and it's on their radar, and we're starting to work on that. Because that's part of the contract, is for them to kind of work through those. IT fiber relocation, that came from Corey with the current fiber that runs from the EMS to the FCRC to the current health department. We're going to have to relocate at least one of those fibers because of the construction. And so Corey has submitted to us a map and saying, this is what we have to move. Will this area work if we move it this way? So working on that as well. And then a meeting between the county staff, Arc Images, and BHS is scheduled for March 9th. That'll be in person here at the Public Works in the basement. So to go through these maps, talk about the fiber and just a lot of those different topics, so. That's kind of where we are in a nutshell. Questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner John, 11. Hey Russell, can you stick around on the next one? Sure. Thanks.
County road system.
County road systems.
Okay.
Might not be bad.
Okay.
If you don't mind. Get it done.
Anything for you.
That's summer flight. Yeah, I remember. Oh, okay. The concern based on how high we anticipate the building price, right, you know, right, but yeah, I thought it was good.
It seemed a little high. I understand.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's probably a house with a big garage, they 100,000.
I don't either, but no, they were talking. Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, because it's still an awful lot for. Right, looked at a house that size, and I realized we've got our locking system is different, you know, that's. Head doors, the pavement, there's a lot more pavement than you would at the house. But you got driveways in, right, back, right, there's those things, but. Yeah.
Oscar just went around.
Well, and a generator, because you don't, and I'm sure those generators, oh, yeah, I have a generator.
This gravel put up 10%.
Such concrete, and through concrete. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, labor everywhere is done.
If you can find labor.
We are so ugly. I'm gonna get something. After work yesterday. There was one guy back there who was a farmer, but this time doing that, there was a line of us waiting in the back, just, you know, stuff. Oh, that kid was the only one back there. Say, yeah, he was the older kid, so he was literally running, and he was carrying my washer running, and he was all over trying to do all those. Fire everyone else, because they're this younger generation, and he's part of that, you know, and he said, yeah, he said, that guy worked, just glad that we didn't want to do it anymore. That kid was living, he was doing all he could do. You're not complaining with his work ethic.
Well, that's
no one.
because no
We usually have about
go quick.
yes, about 4 or 5 back there.
Yep. Well, I think, and we'll continue to call those places. You go into. I understand.
This kid run this tail off. He was raised on a farm, so he did hard to work.
I was looking at 384 to see how much this year. I didn't know, I said it, go down to University of Colorado.
Now, that line shut in there.
Shut that's down there, so there is probably a big, that's why I'm pretty. Right, you know, area wide. Different business.
Hey, John.
Good morning, Commissioner. John Ellerman, Public Works. And I didn't put anything in your packet. I expected this conversation to be continued from Mondays. Since we were rushed to get out, so questions, concerns? I think I'm here and I'll volunteer Clancy to help me answer what I can't answer. And I'll hold him to whatever he says.
Okay. You don't know what I told
No.
them.
I
It's
think
along
this
the
is,
lines of I'm gonna.
I think this is something that we're gonna have to continue to work and chat with our townships and our township people on, get a really good indication of where we're at, or maybe not, but I think that's where we're gonna need to start at.
Because I think some of the townships from, and I haven't talked to all of them, a couple of them think we're doing fine. Leave us alone. Some others are going, we can't do this. Somebody else has got to do it.
Yeah, I think you're
So,
gonna find some of both.
To try to figure out what we're gonna do to make a balance. It's,
I think the important part of this is for the ones that think they're doing fine, that's perfectly fine. But the ones that aren't, we need to specifically see exactly what the concerns are and prioritize based off of that. Is it an equipment issue? Is it a labor issue? Is it budget issue? Is it all the other intangibles, and figure out one by one what they are and figure out what the best path is moving forward based off of that.
but we have no authority over townships. We can't make them.
Not really. I
But-
have some, not authority, but advice and recommendation. Like Rich always says, ultimate power of unlimited power of suggestion. But I don't have any enforcement on whether they do it or not.
Right.
So. Things we've been thinking about, I know my staff has, there's a lot of stuff we haven't really gotten into and thought about as the more we think about it, this comes up. They said it's my department, it's Michael's department, it's Rich's department, and what staff does and who does what and when and what happens to this when we do it, how fast can we do it.
And, big thing is how much is it gonna cost?
Good question. I mean, I don't even know if I could put a dollar to it other than we assume so many miles of road and how much it costs us to maintain a mile of gravel or a mile of dirt, how much it costs Michael to mow a mile of road, and we start putting some of those things together and get a rough idea.
And cost of the equipment and.
You know what some of the equipment costs.
Yeah.
Cost motor graders are probably close to $400,000 a piece. Trucks are $200,000 to $300,000 in a year, 2 years out.
But is that a situation where, each township and including the county are fighting for those equipment? And is it better?
I would doubt that we're
They're not
fighting a
buying
township
new.
to buy equipment.
Okay.
They don't buy new. I think we're fighting counties, states, private industry for trucks and equipment, yeah.
But once again, county has its inventory, a township has its inventory. The discussion has to be, is it better to keep it under just the county and not have all the townships with it? I mean, those are just questions and discussions that need to be had along the way here to understand truly what the true cost is and the true logistics of whatever, whatever, no pun intended, road we choose to go down here.
That's very good.
You're welcome. You can have that one. I won't take it.
But you said we're gonna try to get the townships to give us a list of what actually they have.
Lori's been kind enough to make a list of things that we're gonna start requesting for her annual report. For the county engineer annual report, that we're asking for how many miles of roads are you maintaining now? If you grade it once a year, you maintain that road. How many miles of road are you trying to get a better accuracy of what they think they're maintaining, what they should be, or what they are? I don't know, but it's what they are actually maintaining.
This is gonna be discussed at the meeting next week.
Lori and Bertram are gonna discuss those.
Lori and Bertrand go all be there, and Joe's one works directly with the townships on their budgets and helping them work.
I say Lori, this is probably Joe. But yes, I mean, some of those we were asked, them townships are supposed to give us as far as county engineers annual report, how many miles they maintain, how much they spend on their application, they spend on overhead, how much expenses they have. And as we do this, we maybe try to get a little bit of idea of the inventory they have as far as equipment. I've got 30 minutes on the agenda to talk, basically give them the same presentation I gave you Monday. Few 5-point slides or whatever. Just to put that discussion in there, I guess, without knowing how to do that. As the more I dug into this, I don't know how. I kind of wondering what the interest is, rather than one or two township officers or townships. If we only have 3 townships that we're regularly maintaining the roads for, I don't know if we really have that interest from the townships to do something like this, or maybe they don't know how or what to do to go about doing this.
Well,
So we're talking about maintaining the roads, and I hadn't thought about it, but you mentioned mowing. Do the townships mow their roads at all? Or do do they ask you to do it for them, or?
So that would be a big question that I would have, and of course, the standard varies between townships.
He's asking what they currently do.
As far as mowing,
Yeah.
well, that's just it, some do, some don't, it depends. A lot of them will contract with us to do solid spraying, and then that really cuts down on the sunflower growth, they make it never not. But as a general rule, I can think of some do know, how many times do you?
How many contracts do you?
It varies. Last year,
Contract, yeah.
we had 5 contracts last year. We've had as many as 9. It depends on budget and when the last time it varies great.
But that's just a spray. That's not the mow for anything, right?
That's just a spray.
Well, I think this issue's come up multiple times with multiple boards, and it's never because the township board brings it. It's always because you guys get called for the constituents. I don't think you've heard from a township board to call you and say,
We did,
There's
after the meeting last year, one of them came up to me.
right.
And since then, since it's been coming up, I've had one approach me saying, what's the problem? We're fine.
What's been, everything that's brought this to the commission has been us constituents that live out there. And I really wish a county commissioner lived out there and saw it now. We don't have any county commissioners that do. I can tell you there's 2 here that live on township roads and different township roads. You hear from the constituents, and the reason I asked David and Russell to stay here is because it was Pat Collins that would always have to call them on my road to say, we can't get fire trucks down there if there's a fire. And in bad weather, can you get your ambulances down some of those roads? And so it's because of those concerns from us constituents that live out there that have issues. I told Catherine, I challenged her to drive down my road last week and dodge a pothole.
I haven't done it yet, but.
You know, and so if you're gonna wait for townships to say they're in favor of it, now, will it cost more money? Absolutely, it'll cost more money. Will it cause more equipment and staff? Absolutely it will. But there's a reason why the overwhelming majority of counties in the state of Kansas have this system. Because the constituents wanted it, not because the townships wanted it.
But nothing's changed in how many years? Everybody's kind
I
of.
know, one between you and I.
Even over past days, I changed it that time.
He just wants to get some camera time, leave him alone, he's only got 48 hours.
So I think it said 1979 was the last county to convert to the county unit system. Since then, I think there's been a couple that went to the county rural. Yeah, but and only 3 of those counties, there's only 3 of those. I don't think that's a very popular one. And I think of all of them, I would stay away from that.
It's more of a bookkeeping nightmare on our end and for the tax roll system, but you know, once again, the reason it's brought up again this year is because multiple commissioners have come to us and said, I'm getting complaints on townships. John told, as soon as the original presentation, he gets calls and concerns from constituents, not township people, multiple times a week. But if you're waiting for townships to get unanimous or over 50% want to do it, it'll never happen.
What happens when the constituents call the township office? Is that what happens there?
It's a mixed bag.
Let Lori speak. Let Lori speak. I've spoken enough.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I actually live on a township road that's split in half, so I have two different townships. And my significant other went to a township meeting and was told by the township that nobody wants their road crowned. So the water literally runs down the two paths. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of different ideas out there on the township roads, but I have to call them if the road needs gravel. I have to call them if the road needs mowed. I have to call them, you know, anything. It generally doesn't just happen. It takes someone to call.
They don't have the equipment. They pull, but on mine, they pull a blade behind a tractor. That's Calvin. Is that how you grade a road?
What's that?
A public road with a tractor and a blade, flat blade? They have some equipment, but it's not the right equipment.
Well, and at least you get, I've had people say they call the township and they don't even get a return call, can't get hold of them. And nobody knows, and you said he went to the meeting. He said it's hard to find when they meet, they don't exactly publicize this.
Yeah, and that's a question that's come up on my end too, and they're legally bound to come just like anybody else on that, aren't they?
There, if they have a meeting, they have to, it has to be at a regular time, regular place. If it changes, it has to be, you have to send notice to those people who've requested that they be notified. Yeah, so come up, pause.
What would happen? I mean, the township people are elected, right? So what would happen there? You know, would that have to be nullified or, you know?
Yeah.
So why do we keep electing, why do the constituents keep electing the same people?
So they're the only ones that run.
Because nobody runs.
Nobody runs.
Yeah. Nobody wants to.
I've got one where the same gentleman's been there for like 28, 32 years.
You're about to get a resignation on Monday,
Uh-huh.
have to appoint someone.
And when there's a vacancy, when there's nobody on there, well, we had one just this year that people wrote in, there were, you know.
Oh, we
couple
put the
people,
point, yeah.
And we ended up with two, right? Instead of 55.
Sure.
And are they on this year's election or are they on the
Next year.
they're on the even year election?
Yeah, correct.
I just want to throw in one thing. It's not directly related to what you just were talking about, but it goes to the authority of the board, just so you're aware. If you go to a county unit system, there is an odd statute that gives you the authority at that time as the county commissioners to decide, should we dissolve this township or should we attach its property to a neighboring township? I'm not saying that's going to, but you just need, there's some, and it was mentioned by even, I think by John, there's some unintended things that people just need to be aware of, maybe not unintended, but people just don't know of the impact of doing something like that. It's just an additional authority that comes up.
Because the township boards don't do anything besides roads, is that?
Well, it's their primary job, but it's not the only thing they do. They have responsibilities, as I provided a statutory scheme to Lori just as background, and she already knew this, because I'm sure it comes up in their daily work in the clerk's office, but they have authority to purchase land, put up buildings, to issue bonds. And that's why in past township officers meetings, when they had questions about liability for road, for the condition of a road and that kind of thing, I've spoken up and said, well, you need to get insurance because if you think that anybody else is liable other than your governing body, you're wrong.
We still have a couple of them still asking that question.
Sure,
Yep,
and
I've
it'll
got one-
continue.
I've got one
It'll
that asked that
continue
question.
as the membership of those boards, as they describe terms, you're gonna have people that need to relearn that. It's, I'm not saying that's a crisis. I'm just saying there's some unknown things about just the operation of the township. And that's the most visible thing they do. I would say road maintenance or non-maintenance. You know,
Russell?
I think, and I don't know about Ben Riley and other counties, they have responsibilities for cemeteries.
Yeah, good
And
point. Yeah.
a couple of things.
Other
It's its own legal entity. That's why you have the supervisory authority ordinarily. You just don't, because it's a governing entity within the boundaries of that township. They have certain designated authority. Probably some
Let's see,
lawyer.
I was gonna ask you legally, can you single out 2 or 3 townships, not the entire thing, if we're gonna do this?
Single them out for.
Well,
what?
like, yeah, we're gonna take over this township road, but not.
No,
this.
not through the existing statutory scheme.
Okay.
With the existing statute, you could contract for services. You can do those things. This was mentioned for different things. That would not be taking over or moving to a different road system. If you move to a different road system, you got to do it for
Oh.
everybody. Every township that you have would change.
No, I think individual townships have some options on what they can do, get a contract with the county or another township.
Absolutely.
To do that. I think they can even individually turn over their roads to the county.
Yeah, there's an ability for them to dissolve themselves, basically.
So there's some, maybe not ideal. Those type of things will get us into really being inefficient and maintaining roads. Is that we have an operator that does this, but he's over here and has to run that motor grader half hour, 45 minutes to get to the next road and another 20 minutes to get to the next road. Really makes maintenance inefficient. But I mean, it is what it is. What they do, I hate using that when I say it more than I should have, but there's some options they have. The county union type of thing, those are, it's an all or none type of deal. It's probably more preferred on our end than maybe the other.
When you say you contract with a couple of townships, do you do all of their roads or do they just contract with certain?
You know, I don't think we actually, I've not seen contracts. If we have one, the last one I think has been 14. But
we do.
They tell us when they're ready for us to maintain them. We'll go run the grader on them and then send them a bill for that.
But it's just certain roads.
Without a contract.
Because there's, that's the complaint that they take care of certain roads and not certain roads better than others.
Right.
And they're, when they contact you, they telling you which roads to go in.
Yeah, we won't do anything. Alvin, wait for him to jump up, then I said something wrong. We won't go do it without them telling us it's okay or that they're ready for us to do it. That way we don't spend their money that they don't have or they don't want.
Greg hit the nail on the head right there with his last comment. Generally, people that run for township boards are those that have an interest in their road getting taken care of. The majority of my township board sits in the area that is asphalt and asphalt millings. You can go back 15 years to township board members and drive by their section of road in front of their rural house on gravel, and theirs is asphalt millings. Well, I can't get rock on my road. And that's how the current system works with township.
You could tell who county commissioner.
Oh, you can, yeah, absolutely.
In the day.
That is what's wrong with the system.
But there isn't any kind of I don't know, I assume a state law of townships that they have to be, that they have to do things right. They don't have any.
Well, they have to make that decision as an independent governing body. It's like when people think you're not doing something right. Well, okay.
Nobody ever said.
Yeah, I was gonna say that never happens.
And I really meant in the unlikely event,
Clancy's the one that said that, by the way.
in the unlikely event anyone ever says that, your response would be, well, it's you're making the best possible decision based on the facts you have. So there's that kind of standard. But there isn't any generalized, all your roads have to be at the same quality. There isn't any standard like that. No township road standard.
Okay.
Now, to make that decision on their own roads that they take care of for their own residents, they pay themselves for it. Because they get paid as well.
Sound good.
Yes.
I read more statutes than I ever wanted to. I've hinted on before, but yeah, I've had to read more. I mean,
What's that old saying that now you know and knowing's half the battle?
Yeah. Kind of.
That was a cartoon back in the 80s too.
Maybe we should take this up again after the meeting.
Well, I think that's probably wise, see what kind of questions, concerns, protests, volunteers, all you get after next week meeting.
It could be the funnest township meeting we've had in a long time.
Your definition of fun is different than mine.
No, actually, I'm really bad at sarcasm, that's all.
As long as we don't have a riot, I do have the new police director speaking in.
Oh, yeah.
He might bring back. Should have asked him to bring back, just in case.
Any other, Michael, you had
The only comment I would have is I would think perhaps maybe the board might find it beneficial to kind of have a cost for using the departments and what it might take. And from my perspective, I've got an idea about how many miles of township roads there are. But one thing that I find difficult to grasp, and I kind of heard a mixed bag, is what standards are we going to do township roads?
Right, that's gonna be a discussion
And
part.
in order for me to give you a cost analysis of what it might take for personnel and budget, I would need to know things like, am I going to be mowing these roads out 3 times a year like on the county roads? Or will this be on once a year type of deal? But I would think for the board, it might be very beneficial to know how it would affect individual departments and what's a number that I would think I would require is to make this happen. And I think as we go further down the road and talk to the townships, what they can apply. Then I think there's more next perspective.
That's so much true. For us, to me, it all depends on what system and how we end up approaching this. If it's a countywide unit, I have my own idea what those road maintenance and road standards should look like. If it's county rural, where we're maintaining county roads and township roads, then I think I have a different idea what the standards for the township road should be. One, the budgets are gonna be, and the ability of those budgets to handle certain standards are gonna be different.
Well, the way they're funded.
Okay, any other comments? Sorry. Okay, thank you.
I know, it's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you did.
This fly is just, where's it come from? It's all I want to see. So
Just so you know, you are successfully chasing him down this way, okay?
yeah.
Well, I know, he buzzed me a couple of times too. I tried to shoot like that.
Yeah, that's where it should be, down there.
Say what attracts flies? Oh,
Well,
food.
Yeah. Two things.
Yeah, I think we might not want to talk about either one of them.
Okay, it's 11:45. We're a little shots of Clancy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Clancy Holman, Riley County Councilor. I've got something that really is just a heads up. Commission agenda report telling you that some time ago, just reminding you that some time ago, recently, you approved Riley County Attorney Jared Wilkerson's request to do a contract with an outside attorney for a very specific purpose to work on some of that caseload that's being pushed forward. That's what this agreement that you see attached to the car is for. Provided that document, I modified it just a little bit and added a standard term. The main purpose of that standard term is you're not a party to this agreement. This is a contract only between the Riley County attorney and this outside lawyer. Up to 700 hours at the rate set out in the contract can be ended by agreement during the time. Ended if the parties find there's no need for it to continue. But the contractual provisions attached makes it clear that because it was presented as this emergency, there's actually a provision of the procurement code that allows such a contract to be put in place even without the normal structure for a professional, which might be used for professional service, our current procurement code. I'm saying it okay there for a while, and I'm lapsed into this. Actually has a selection committee for very often for professional services. And so there didn't seem to be any reason to have that used here, particularly since this is for a specific, what really amounts to an emergency, to short term to deal with it. And that's why the contractual provisions attachment exists. Although I will be asking you to sign it, you are not party to this contract. Just highlight that. It's to basically make sure the organization understands that there isn't just a permanent authorization in the procurement code to contract for such outside services, particularly if they could exceed a certain dollar amount. That's what drives it into that selection committee. So, unless you have questions, I would just ask that you just be aware. I don't need action today, other than if you want, telling me that you're going to accept having this added once it's signed. And the CAR explains that it's not signed yet. I didn't give an explanation why, but both parties to the contract had scheduling or family issues that prevented that from happening in time for today's agenda. And I just didn't want you surprised about Monday or my request to add it, or so I didn't want to surprise the clerk's office. So, unless you have questions, I would just ask. You go ahead and approve my bringing that to you signed Monday morning.
Yeah, I've had a chance to talk to Barry and Trinity and David in his office, and they've got a good person lined up for this.
Ran into someone, he brought it up.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're in good shape, and this is the proper call that I guess handle the chaos that is currently. So. Okay. Well, with that said, then I'll go ahead and move that the board authorize council to present the agreement in its current form to the BOCC for signature Monday, March 6th, 2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize council to present the agreement in its current form to the BOCC for signature on Monday, March 6th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The next item is the item that you agreed by consensus to add a discussion of two pieces of legislation right now, Senate Bill 248 and Senate Bill 252. Don't be put off by the amount of paper in this. I'm only going to talk directly about the first one-page topic. That's the most important part of more paper. You will at least have a paper copy of the bill at your leisure to read. I've highlighted yellow sections of it. You don't have it either, might make it useful for you as you go through it at some point. But here's the key. We have a request from the Kansas Association of Counties, went out to all their members, I'm assuming, asking for some assistance in providing information about the impact if Senate Bill 248 becomes law. Senate Bill 248, as you can see on that first page, that was Shiloh Hager, our Riley County Treasurer, was good enough to invest some time in putting together a spreadsheet to address Casey's question, just what is the impact? What's the dollar impact on your county if Senate Bill 248 goes into effect? That spreadsheet does not show the entire impact. It's just a snapshot of a piece of the effect that Shiloh was able to identify by virtue of the codes that are assigned. I guess they're industrial codes, is that what they're called? The industrial codes assigned to certain types of businesses, and those are turned in with, those are accessible. And for that reason, she was able to go back and look at some information. I want her to walk you through that spreadsheet so you know what it represents. I think she's best able to do that. Thank you.
So what I did was I pulled grocery stores and convenience stores. Those were the two that most prevalent that would have food sales that would be impacted by this exemption. And so what you're looking at was the total amount of sales tax that was collected within Riley County for 2022 for those two types of codes. The total amount was $1,238,044.14. that is broken out between our 2 half-cent sales tax that were currently in place in 2022. And of our total amount of sales tax that was collected in Riley County, that represents about 9.75%. I went one step further then and broke it down and showed you at the bottom section as how those sales tax are actually allocated within among Riley County and then the cities that are in Riley County. And I used the average percent allocation for 2022, just so you could get an idea. So for Riley County, if this would have been in place in 2022, in Riley County, the Riley County General Fund would have saw a reduction in sales tax revenue of approximately 215,000. And then our Road and Bridge Fund would have seen a hit of about 215,000. And then you could see the impact on the various cities within Riley County. Now, this could be high, it could be low. There could be some other food sales. For example, I'm just grasping at straws, Target or other, and grocery stores obviously sell things other than food. So this is just a broad, if, you know, throw a dart at a bulletin board and kind of see what it would look like. And then in addition, you know, you would actually, this is just Riley County's 1%. The city obviously has its portion and would have an even bigger impact there as well. But hopefully this will provide at least a snapshot of what it would do to Riley County.
And I should have led with this. I've been left out of important explanation for anybody that's watching this now or later, is that Senate Bill 248 ends an exemption that counties and cities had as a result of last year's legislation.
Yeah.
This takes that exemption away and said, excuse me, yeah, from the counties. The counties were exempt from the impact that you're now seeing. That's the way to look at it. Yeah. They were saved from that. And it was only the state's portion that was going to be reduced by this benefit that was going to be bestowed. Okay, they're making, and I think a lot of people were surprised at that at the time, but okay, as long as you were left alone. But this goes back to what I think that most counties and cities are used to, which is we all get to participate by losing that saving clause. And from now on, you're not going to be able to have if this goes into effect, you cannot have a local retailers countywide sales tax that covers those items, those types of businesses in this category. And the reason this matters and the reason that Shiloh has prepared it in the careful way she has is these are good numbers from just 2 types of businesses and 1 year, last year. And you can only assume these numbers are going to get bigger, but KAC's asked for some real data. And I'd like your permission as part of this to go ahead and provide this to KAC and provide it to our delegation. I think it's really going to be instructive to our delegation. When you've been telling them and I've been telling them how important it is on a seemingly innocuous change, what does it do? You know, this is a great example. This is the leading edge of something like the mortgage registration fee and the loss of that, because once it goes into place, there's no telling how long it'll last. There's no reason to assume it's only going to be for 1 year.
Yeah, this is not just food. This is like when you start a convenience store, there's gas, there's all sorts of things.
It's just whatever they sold. Yes, you're correct.
Food actually.
I couldn't, there's no way for me to break down just the food portion of it. All I get is codes that supermarkets fall under, convenience stores fall under. Those were just the 2 that fell under the set of codes that were food sales.
It's a rough,
exactly.
But like you said, they sell stuff that isn't food, but also Target has food, Dollar General has food, some other places.
Casey's.
So you think maybe.
And those kind of fall under like department stores and so
I'm saying maybe that might even out. I don't know.
Right. Right.
The one thing I noticed is I thought this is saying it wouldn't go effective until January 1st because Lucia was saying.
Well, that's wrong now. That's outdated because what they did is they amended it by the committee of the whole. And even the fiscal notes you get on stuff will be lagging behind what the change actually does. That's part of what drives me crazy in trying to analyze the effect of legislation. Because that's describing, I think, what was in place at the time the committee passed this thing out. And then it got to the floor, got amended, as I understand it, as I'm reading.
Because like I said, now it goes into effect July 1st. So
I think that's true.
we're gonna lose half of that just this year that we've already budgeted.
Yeah.
It isn't like you can budget it for next year.
Right.
It's gonna
Yeah.
whack us now.
Well, the one thing you can be assured of, it doesn't mean more money to your operating time. It means less money to your operating time.
There's what happened to the state was gonna cover that with their surplus.
And they lost enthusiasm for that.
Because they know that surplus isn't gonna be there forever.
Well, no,
The majority of that surplus isn't really money that we've actually gained in revenue. They're federal funds that are sitting there from recovery. Federal funds that are sitting there that haven't been spent on anything yet. So it's a falsity and they know that. So to do this long term, and that is the goal, to do it long term.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's not being presented as a temporary change.
But also, and I don't, without reading through how many pages this, assume there's a definition of food. I mean, because that could be it.
Well, take a look at that, because I've highlighted that in yellow. You would think that might be obvious. It's not.
There's been even some options thrown out there only on healthy foods, so they're still battering
Right.
all kinds.
And they don't even have the codes completely figured out for what they're doing right now.
Exactly.
And we're, whatever it is, we're almost a third month.
Candy bar food or not.
Well, they also exempt certain types of bakery items. Donuts are not covered.
Donuts,
bakery items.
That's-
Donuts, croissants, there's a list in there.
Muffins, tarts.
You'll see if you kind of flip through it, there's some yellow highlights. Those are just things of interest. I thought it might help reading through the thing or getting more familiar with it. But are you okay with that information being relayed with a statement to our delegation as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
I think it will be helpful. Thank you, Shiloh, for all the work you did on this so fast. Really appreciate it.
And I can email you a copy of this updated one. The one I emailed you was my first high level.
Yeah.
I didn't exactly know
Right.
what was asked of me.
Okay.
So I will, I'll email you this version as well, so you'll have that in electronic form.
And basically, you guys have kind of covered all the questions I originally emailed you about, so. Well, good.
And you mentioned this one, right? Oh, this one, it says. Food sold that ordinarily requires additional cooking as opposed to just reheating.
What is that?
What does that mean?
Right, that's the.
Doesn't apply to your baked beans,
Yeah,
don't
but little
worry.
cans of baked beans, I'm okay.
That's such a,
So.
it's gonna be,
Weird.
Right.
there'll be lawsuits.
Well, and they know that. See, that's another thing that be crazy. It's they're experienced legislators for the most part, and they know what's gonna happen as a result.
If it isn't clearly defined.
Well, and they have to know what. How is that a clear definition?
So that would, frozen dinners would not.
At this point,
Right.
Unless they figure out that the majority of Kansas are still using the oven to heat those up instead of the microwave, and then, that could change.
Well, that's
You laugh, but I'm not
raise a good
kidding.
point, because that's how would you defend it?
I mean, oven you cook with a micro, or what about an air fryer? Now, there's an interesting one right there, the most important kitchen appliance of the new millennium. See, even Derek's shaking his head on that.
Clancy, Commissioner Folk just asked the question, who originally proposed this? Do you know where it
On that
originated?
one, I thought there was something there may be something in the fiscal note on that. I thought it identified the senator who brought this up in committee. May have turned loose of my.
It says it
Yeah,
at the top.
Yes, I'm thinking of the other one.
Yeah, it says a committee here. And then
It says by the
No.
committee.
Under background on the.
Oh,
where is it?
Nope, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 252. I don't have it, 248. I gave you that.
Committee on assessment.
I think doesn't that one say that was done?
it says amended by the Senate Committee of the Whole.
On the floor.
Right.
So that's where the change was made.
So
It's a lot
basically,
of great ideas all put together.
Absolutely.
find great ideas.
Say those
Yeah.
cats,
Just-
right?
Throw everything in a blender and this is what.
That's kind of what they do.
Well, you see the length of that statute that they go in. I mean, and I'm convinced that that's probably one reason some of that stuff ends up as exemptions, because who's going to read this 50-page document and be able to even find what has been changed? Because the supplemental note, it will maybe talk in broad concepts, but it isn't going to say, go to section 1.2 or line 12 and you'll see what's been changed. That will be italicized or whatever, but you get in documents this size, it's tough to find. But anyway, I want to touch base on a separate piece, the case he's making the same request on, it's not sales tax. This is property tax. And this is
Oh, yeah.
52, which says if a business is competing, or excuse me, if the county is competing against a private business, then there's an exemption for that business. Now, it's not. And then it's designed, you'll see in the note, it talks about, what I'm going to give you, it also has this supplemental note. All the yellow highlights are mine and we know them on the statute. Just the points of interest. I don't have something similar to give you on this on dollar impact, because unlike sales tax categories, we don't really have anything that classifies types of businesses like childcare facilities, that kind of thing. But I have had a conversation today with Anna Burson, and she's thinking through how they can develop something similar to this. It won't have dollar figures on it necessarily immediately, but how many of these types of business in this category do we have? And then what kind of assessed value is represented by those businesses? And we can back into a number on that, but it's rational. To give you a snapshot of what would be the impact of that if that's suddenly in place.
But it listed all these, the businesses, but does that mean only if we have a compete, that said, one of them says, again, it's childcare. Riley County is what?
No.
Childcare, does it still count?
Well,
Or does
no,
it
it
go
would have,
county by county.
it would have to be a unit of government. It'd have to be a city, county, potentially university.
That's what I was gonna say.
It'd be a university.
They have childcare.
If it's not exempt, and there's some other conditions for this. It's not immediately, well, they compete. You don't have to just solve that. And there's a definition of competing in there. And there's a requirement that if that local unit of that government entity is competing, the business has to have started before the local government started doing it. In other words, they were in place, they invested. I'm sure this is the theory. They invested, they've got a capital expense, they've got ongoing labor expenses, all that good stuff any business would have. And then local unit of government started competing. Then there's coverage by this statute. You can't do it afterwards and say, I'm going to start a business that and now allege that the county, for example, is competing. That won't work under it.
I was gonna say.
As it's written right now, it would not apply to that. And we've had some discussions at the staff level a little bit. Well, who's to say that somebody who was part of their nursery business, their nursery business that has in the off season of that nursery, they don't go and do snow removal. Who's to say that they're not the county and the townships, and they aren't competing against it? And they're just now starting, and that's not right. Now
We have our own lawn mowing crews.
Yep. So
That's where this is going.
Yeah,
Everybody wants. to
we've talked about
accept
the fact
that.
that
Why don't you
we,
just accept everybody, then you can just.
the more they, eventually, when everybody's exempt, they're gonna have to go back and start over again. Everybody's gonna accept you and me, and I'm tired of carrying it.
Yeah, we fair taxes on the other guy.
absolutely, and each one of these, no matter what kind of exemption, just
I
like
was on the corner.
Stay over there.
just
I
as
thought you got him. Oh,
just as
He
you
was
know,
We don't know. if we get it or not.
and just as most people in public know, those exemptions sound great until you realize all it does is shift the liability.
Yes, we've got,
The need for those dollars doesn't go away.
Right.
I mean, there's so somebody.
we're still paying, we still furnish the roads that go up to their front door. But then they don't have to
And the
pay.
ambulances, and the
Yeah.
fire service. and-
Everything the legislature does keeps directing it towards just residential real estate is going to be funding everything.
yep. I
Those,
don't,
It's remaining non-exempt.
That's just the same kind of thing you got on 248. Without the benefit of the breakdown, because when I get that, I'll come back to you with it. I'm talking to Dana, that may not be till next Tuesday. But maybe before.
Well, like if the city, has all those rec centers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's where it all started, was Genesis. That's where it all-
Genesis is
that's what
the
started
fault
it.
of this.
They started all of this 10 years ago.
It's been about, well,
That time flies.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years.
Well, I bet it was.
that sounds at least 8.
Well, I go back still to I haven't forgotten that list of contributors at that time.
I think
To
they were.
the legislature, and they had a long list of. We're getting it from those who wanted that exemption, so. But what I'd also on this one, I don't really want to wait till Tuesday to respond on this issue. I would at least like to be able to respond to the delegation and the KAC that we're confident there's going to be detrimental impact. We're confident it's going to reduce the operating funds of the county. We don't support this, and when we have detail, we'll provide it. That's what I'd like to do, if you're okay with that approach.
Yeah, 'cause they started listing every business out there, and like I say, when they extend the definition of competing to.
Who knows? Now, we have no idea now how these, and like I said, you still got this big pile of shells that are available. Usually they're having trouble finding shells for bills at the end of the session. I'm gonna be curious to see if they have any trouble this session.
No,
There may be so many, they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
they've got
That's
over
what-
500,
dangerous.
over 500.
Potentially dangerous for local government. All right. Unless you have questions, that's all I've got. Thank you for the extra time.
Well, but then I know you got frustrated with the motor vehicle one got kicked out because they're worrying about flat income tax. What does that have to do with
Senate leadership doesn't want it. That's what it boiled down to.
making up excuses?
Yeah.
I think if the board's okay, it'd be good, because Clancy mentioned, impact detrimental to local units of government, but take it one step farther is. Both of these are having a detrimental impact to your taxpayers. It's something that Alvin Johnson and Mike Kearns always thought about when they sat as a board. The single parent family member, an elderly person on a fixed income. Their ad valorem taxes are going up, folks, if this happens. And so I would suggest one step further to also say the taxpayers, because supposedly that's who the legislature is all concerned about. They're not concerned about us, local units of government. I'll guarantee you.
Sure, that's a good point.
But that's what local government is.
No, if they want it that way, then they should take it all over and do it themselves.
That's what I've been saying for 2 years now. They should take all of this.
Yep.
We should all be state employees, and they just tell us how to run it.
Yep.
That's where they're going. That's what they're trying to do. I just think they should do it.
What fewer of us if that happened.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
for the information, Chuck.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you for
Thank
help.
you. Any-
I'm commented out.
I could make comments on the state.
Well, yeah.
It just won't do any good. I'd rather use my comments for something that's gonna be constructive. It just isn't.
Okay, well, that concludes our business then. We have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn the March 2nd meeting of the Riley County Commission.
One second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the March 2nd meeting of the board